Star Wars has been on a downward spiral in recent years, with fans wondering if it will ever get back on track. Well, strap yourselves in because the plan to save Star Wars has just become clear.
You know it to be true.
However, not everyone's pleased.
I don't believe what I'm hearing.
We'll kick things off with all the latest developments for Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie and why some fans aren't happy with the direction it's going in, and why I still think we're on the cusp of a very bright future for that galaxy far, far away.
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
To explain what's really going down right now, we need to take it back to 2017. The Last Jedi has just been released and it was met with mixed reception from fans and critics alike. A large portion of the fan base were left unhappy with how Episode 8 played out, and it's even a grey area all these years later. The Force Awakens and Rogue One, let's not forget, performed very well, and they were met with largely a positive reception from fans and critics alike. But less than 6 months after The Last Jedi, Solo bombed in the box office, and since then every theatrical release has performed below what Lucasfilm would have anticipated. But then comes along a Kathleen Kennedy rare win when she paired Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni together to work on The Mandalorian. Now, the first 2 seasons were great, but then the Book of Boba Fett came out to mixed reviews, and The Mandalorian Season 3 also came out to mixed reviews. And then when you add that to the list of other projects that have been met with mixed reviews, such as Kenobi, and well, Andor, fans typically liked Andor, but it just didn't get watched by many of them. That pretty picture that was being painted for Star Wars after the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian becomes a little dirty, with the Ahsoka series this summer carrying a lot of weight, and probably the future of Star Wars on its shoulders. The trailer was met with very positive reviews, and now Star Wars is back in the conversation. For the right reasons. At Star Wars Celebration 2023, there were 3 new movies announced, and Dave Filoni's movie, which was slated to release in 2026, was the most anticipated of the bunch. And now we know the movie is going to be called Heir to the Empire, which shares its name with a Legends book written by Timothy Zahn, a book which many fans, up until the sequel trilogy, believed to be the next story after Return of the Jedi. And it focused around the adventures of Luke Skywalker, Leia and Han Solo, and their struggle against Imperial remnants, which I note we have started to see in The Mandalorian and the shows connected to The Mandalorian, and Grand Admiral Thrawn, who we now know is appearing in the Ahsoka series. And this is exactly what has got fans upset, as despite Dave Filoni revealing he really likes the original Thrawn trilogy, and these are the books that he took in for many years, being as what happened after Return of the Jedi, this was very much the next part of the story to him and to so many other fans until it was decanonized. Now, Filoni goes on to say that he actually massively respects Timothy Zahn's work and he aims to follow that path as closely as possible in his version of events, even revealing Thrawn as the main villain of this time period. Now, fans believe that this will not be a true live-action retelling of Heir to the Empire, but it will rather be a cheap trick by Disney to bring eyes that wouldn't be there otherwise onto their new projects, seeing as Disney removed this story from the original canon timeline in place of its new stuff. Now, I do understand where they're coming from by saying that. Disney decanonized everything outside of the movies and the Clone Wars TV show, but I do have to disagree that this is one of those situations. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have been building up to this movie for many years now, before anyone connected it, and it all started in The Mandalorian with the Imperial remnants, the cloning facilities, the name dropping of Thrawn, and it also ties in loosely to the Book of Boba Fett and to The Mandalorian Season 3 as well, where they talk of Thrawn's imminent arrival and Captain Pelion appearing, who is actually Thrawn's right-hand man. And then we get Thrawn himself physically returning in the Ahsoka trailer. Now, although we've already seen Luke in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, some fans are worried Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire movie will veer away from the original story and the original characters will have their roles reduced to accommodate for the new characters the Disney Plus shows focus on, such as Din Djarin, Grogu, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and so on, and even the Rebels characters. And what even adds more weight to this is the fact that Disney will not recast original actors after the results from Solo at the box office, believing that the reason it didn't do well is because they didn't have Harrison Ford in the role, which means that they would need to rely on the power of technology to pull off a movie return for Luke, Han and Leia, and for them to have main roles in that movie. And that is a massive risk that they would have to take, especially as they've earmarked these 3 movies as their way out of the trenches. But I'll be honest with you, as of now, the actual Heir to the Empire movie likely hasn't been written yet, with Dave Filoni still very much mapping out where the story's going to go. And the characters that Dave Filoni does write this movie around could largely be decided by another film outside of Star Wars, and that would be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is going to feature a de-aged Harrison Ford. And I believe Lucasfilm will be keeping a close eye on how this movie does perform. At the moment, reviews aren't looking too great for it, if I'm honest. And if it's deemed that the technology just isn't there to create a movie centered around 3 digitally de-aged characters, then they could well be dropped by the wayside for the newer ones. But in all fairness, this decision is likely out of Dave Filoni's control. However, knowing Dave Filoni's work and his beliefs when it comes to Star Wars, alongside many reports backing the fact up, I believe Dave Filoni fully intends to have Luke, Han, and Leia as integral parts to this movie, following the book as closely as possible, but also using the characters that have helped create the landscape we're in now, the New Republic era, which would be Din Djarin, Din Grogu, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and so many more. But this in itself is also causing upset within some fans who believe the movie should be an exact retelling of the book, and that the characters from the Disney Plus shows, most of which, to be fair, were created after the book was written, should stay completely out of it, which, given what's actually happening in the galaxy right now and what's already happened in recent years, makes no sense to me whatsoever. Take Ahsoka for example. She spent a long time fighting and then looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn, hoping it would then lead her to Ezra. There is no way she wouldn't be a part of this fight. Now, as fans, you're probably used to choppy waters, and it doesn't look like that's going to be plain sailing anytime soon, with reports swirling around in regards to Jon Favreau's future. Word of friction is going around the internet, whilst the Writers Guild of America strike has halted plans for The Mandalorian Season 4, which is an integral part of the story. After all, it's the series that started it all, and it's likely one of the last Disney Plus shows we're going to get before the movie drops. Mandalorian Season 4 is the only show that's set to move the Mandoverse forwards in 2024, but that being delayed will likely delay Dave Filoni's movie a little bit further back as well, which was originally reported to be released in 2026 after Rey's New Jedi Order movie in 2025. But relax, Star Wars fans, noise and chaos behind the scenes, which is becoming the normal these days, might soon be a thing of the past. Dave Filoni, who we could call the heir to the Lucasfilm empire himself, someone who George Lucas considers to be almost like a son, has a plan, and this plan's been in motion for years. He's been sowing the seeds of this big grand event, this big story, since the early days in Star Wars Rebels, and he's been building up the Mandoverse after that with Jon Favreau, creating the perfect platform for this next era in Star Wars canon. But whilst he's been doing this, he's been sticking true to George Lucas's original vision, and no one is in a better position to carry on George's vision than Dave Filoni himself, considering how closely they worked together in the past. But let's not get it twisted, this won't be an exact copy of what George has done before. This won't be The Force Awakens. You see, Dave Filoni is also adding in his own flavours to the pot, and he's also pulling from material that George Lucas himself once upon a time signed off on. Dave Filoni is very much paving the way for new Star Wars and re-injecting the energy that it once had. But what's more, I personally believe that this is only the beginning. Now, Dave Filoni has only been announced for one movie, but let's not forget the Thrawn trilogy is of course 3 books. The first one being called Heir to the Empire, but the other 2, Dark Force Rising and The Last Command, could be the films that follow on from this. Dave Filoni could be about to recreate the Thrawn trilogy in live action, which would effectively become the new episodes 7, 8 and 9, whilst the sequels would then become the new episodes 10, 11 and 12, moving it further away from the original trilogy. That would likely please some more fans in the process. Now, although Dave Filoni has got the green light to go ahead with this movie, and everything's seeming pretty positive on that side of events, I don't think we're going to stop getting the other Star Wars Disney Plus shows, such as Andor and shows like Kenobi, where they kind of fit in a different point in time, or even other Star Wars movies, such as the Rey movie, or the movie that's going to go into The First Jedi. I do think Dave Filoni is the one that's going to be most consistent, and I think this could map out the future of Star Wars stories for many years to come. Guys, do you think Dave Filoni's movie could end up turning into a trilogy itself? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like button, it'd be greatly appreciated. I'll catch you in the next one. This is the way.